Hi, everyone. It is so good to be back in my office podcast studio to chat with you again. Thank you so much to everyone who has given me so much grace over the last 2 months as I have taken time to heal, focus on my nutrition and health coaching business, and focus on my family and friends and some big events that occurred, both challenging and super exciting and amazing. But I'm excited to share that I am back, and I'm back with an update as to what has been going on the last few months. I know that on my birthday in July, I released a pretty emotional episode, and I never really pictured myself releasing an episode that was so vulnerable, that really touched on some of my biggest fears and deepest wounds, and to cry on the show like that. The cancer season really got the best of me, and I was just in a really emotional place at that time, and I just felt like it was important to share, because I know on social media, a lot of the times when I am posting and sharing, it is when I am at my best and when I'm feeling inspired and when I'm on my routine and doing the things. So I thought it was really important to share when things aren't going great and what that looks like for me. And hopefully some of you related. Thank you so much to people who reached out afterwards to check in, just to chat, to share your own experiences. That was more than I even thought could come out of the episode. So I'm very grateful to everyone who listened and took something away or wanted to have a conversation. And I'm excited to share what was discovered since then and what I've been doing to better my health. In that episode, I had talked about how I had just had my blood labs run and I was waiting on those results. So I'm going to go actually through the key hitters from my blood lab results to share some of the root cause of what's been going on with me, in hopes that it can help you better understand labs and root cause. And I'm also going to share what I've been doing on the emotional side to start to heal from all of the grief and worry and fears that I have accumulated over the years. I wrote everything down that I wanted to share. It is literally 3 pages long. So hopefully I can get through everything quickly and efficiently without rambling. But I think first off, it's always been part of my mission to take care of emotional and mental health as well as physical health, because I know that emotions get stuck in the body. I know that trauma causes inflammation, and that living in worry and fear actually can damage the immune system, or weaken, I should say. And so after having all of those big feelings coming up in July and really working through so much, I realized that yes, it's amazing that I've done so much work, that I'm a theta healer myself, that I've done theta healing on myself with others. I've done NET a bunch of times, like literally hundreds probably at this point. But there's layers to all of this. And so I knew that I needed to keep digging and keep addressing what was coming up. So the first thing that I did was I realized that I just had too much on my mind and on my heart to effectively do theta healing on myself. And so I reached out to my theta healing teacher, Emily Mioto, and asked for a few sessions just to help me see clearly, get through the fear facade, and feel empowered to do theta healing on myself. And I'm so glad that I did that, because my first session with her was truly, truly exactly what I needed to hear. and what I needed to feel motivated to continue to do theta healing work on myself. And I'm not going to give all of the details because some is really personal. And I think sometimes when we enter the world of theta healing, it's not always well received by people. And this experience was just so moving to me that I just don't want it to be dampened by people saying that's woo woo, that's not right. I don't know. Like, I just don't want it to be tainted. But I will say that what came up during that session, because it surprised me. And I think sometimes when we're dealing with the subconscious mind, these things that come up for us are not always front and center or obvious as to what is causing us to have disease in the body or what feelings are making our nervous system dysregulated. And so, of course, with the PCOS diagnosis, we were focusing on my womb space, and she was just asking me what was coming up when I thought about it. And the two biggest feelings were not feeling worthy and feeling guilty. And as we started to unpack why I was holding feelings of unworthiness and guilt in my womb space that was causing some disease in my body, clearly, it came up that I felt guilty and not worthy of having children because Trish will never be able to have kids. And I know that you're like, well, that doesn't make sense. Of course, you're still worthy to have kids, even though something so terrible happened to your best friend. And on a conscious level, I totally agree. The part that you might not know is that when we were in high school and we were in college, Trish was always looking forward to being a young mom. All she wanted to do was be a mom. She talked about it all the time. She was pursuing her Farm D so that she could have a more flexible schedule to be a more present mom, like her mom was. Her mom had a flexible work schedule so that she could show up for her. And that's what she wanted. She wanted to get married and start having kids by her mid to late 20s. And she just kind of had it all planned out before the big cancer bomb was dropped on her. And me, I was just kind of like, I have no idea what my future is going to hold. I just had no idea. Like, I always pictured myself with kids, but I wasn't as strong and as like, yes, this is exactly what I want and when I want, and this is how I'm going to plan my life around children as she was. And it's funny because as I've gotten older, I have started to be that way. And that is why I am creating a work from home business where I'm my own boss, where I create my own schedule, because eventually, yeah, I would love to be able to be a present mother and a working mom and contributing to our family and continuing to pursue my mission in life, which is to help people achieve health. And it's just funny. I feel like Trish just kind of had it right from the start, and it just took me a little bit longer to get there. So, anyways, because of that, there's just been these feelings of guilt and unworthiness. Why do I get this chance when I wasn't so steadfast in it and she doesn't? And we were able to work through that. And I got some really beautiful messages as we started to unpack and clear that. And that has changed the trajectory of this healing journey. It has made me so much more positive, so much more confident, so much more motivated that I can and I will heal, and that I am going to have at least one child naturally, and that everything is going to work out and it's going to be fine. And I don't know if I would be able to say that if I hadn't reached out for this experience. So thank you so much to Emily. And if you are interested in theta healing, I would love to chat with you about it. So that was step one. I really needed to deal with the emotional piece. Step two was part of my emotional and physical healing has been seeing Peggy Herzog. She's a holistic health practitioner. I've been seeing her since I was 15 years old. So going on 15 years of seeing her, that is crazy. I've been seeing her almost half my life. Wild. And she does what is called neuro-emotional technique. I've talked about it on the podcast before. I've talked about it on my Instagram before. And that is another way to remove stuck emotions from the body. We've done a lot of work around heartbreak, around fear, fear of illness, and that has been really helpful as I've continued to work through this journey. We've done some nervous system regulation. I didn't say this at the beginning, but myself, my OBGYN, Dr. Roxanne Pero, and Peg Herzog, I have taken what I know from nutrition, what Dr. Pero knows as an OB, and what Peg Herzog knows as a holistic health practitioner. And I've taken the best of what we all have to create a protocol. So Peg has also been involved in my protocols that I've been creating. And I have been really working hard to start to get to the root cause as well as remediate symptoms. And I'm going to start to get into that. So those were the two big emotional pieces that I've been working on. And then since then, or between sessions, I've been doing theta healing on myself. And it's just been really wild what has come up. The next thing was working through these lab markers. I'm going to share with you some of the irregular lab markers that I had, some of the symptoms that I had that would make these lab markers make sense, and potential root causes of these lab markers. So the first lab markers that were irregular were that I had high TPO and high MPO, and these are markers of inflammation in both the heart and the thyroid. So MPO is cardiovascular, thyroid is TPO. And that was kind of scary because that could mean that there is some type of autoimmune issue happening in the body, but it definitely means that my body is inflamed. And so I'm creating antibodies in the thyroid and in my heart. So that was a little frightening. The next markers that came up were that I had high total cholesterol and high LDL cholesterol. This was not surprising. These markers have shown up on labs ever since I did Accutane. So, for those of you who don't know my journey, my story, I had chronic cystic acne from the time I was in like sixth, seventh grade to my junior year of high school. And I tried every antibiotic, every cream. I was told it was genetics because my dad had history of acne, nowhere near as severe as mine, though. I was told it was puberty and that it would eventually go away on its own as I got my cycle. That didn't happen. Yeah, those were kind of the things that I was told during that time frame. Now I know that is completely not what was happening. I was having dysfunction of the gut, dysfunction of the liver. I was having hormone imbalance. So very frustrating, but we live and we learn. And now I'm hoping to share this information with others so that they can prevent what happened to me. Anyways, before I went on Accutane, I did not have high cholesterol markers. By the end of my Accutane treatment, which you get your blood drawn once a month when you're on Accutane because it's such an aggressive medicine, they want to monitor all of your vitals. By the end of it, I had high cholesterol, and that has yet to go away. Now, do I know if it was the Accutane that caused it or the birth control that I went on to be able to go on Accutane or a combo of such? No, I'm not totally sure. But I say that it was not a complete surprise that total and LDL cholesterol were high because I did have a history of that. However, I have done so much to be healthier, to heal my gut, my liver, balance hormones. And so it was a bit disheartening to see that. However, they were not in the alarm range. They were not like crazy high. And in old textbooks, actually, they would be considered a healthy range, but the ranges have changed. So it's kind of more of like I was taking it more of as, okay, this is something that we need to keep working on, not something that I need to like freak out about. Causes of the total high cholesterol and high LDL cholesterol, you know what I'm saying, that I believe are root causes for me are hypothyroidism, which I will get to, oxidative stress, and heavy metals. So I had my two mercury amalgams removed in April. I had them in my back two molars on the bottom sets of my teeth, and I got them implanted in my mouth also in middle school around the time that I started to have cystic chronic acne. Could that have been a root cause? Probably part of the story. I don't think the only part, but I think part of the picture. So I finally had those removed in April. I've been wanting to have them removed, but I wanted to make sure that I had the time, the space, the energy to put a heavy metal detox protocol in place to make sure that the mercury that would be released when I got them out would not wreak havoc on my body. And I also wanted to do it like well before I wanted to try to have children. And since I'm getting married next year, it was a high priority thing to do this year. So I'm not sure if during that process the mercury were released. I will say that my dentist at Central Dentist in Dallas did an amazing, amazing, amazing job of making sure that there was the lowest possible risk for mercury to get into my system. It was actually quite alarming, the measures that had to be put in place to have this procedure done. So I had to wear a double covering. The dentist and the dental hygienist, the assistant, both had to wear basically hazmat suits. They literally had the full mask situation on. They were covered to be protected from this mercury. There was a to protect my entire body from what would be released from the drilling of the mercury to come out of the tooth. They basically had this thing that they put around my tooth, and then every other part of my mouth was covered and protected. So it just had this like tiny little thing for the tooth, and then everything else was this like protective material so that nothing could go into the throat, into the mouth, and into the body. And then they had this big tube that was sucking out any mercury vespers right at my face. So it was crazy. Like you literally would think that I was like in movies, in those, or in TV shows when they put you in those like little rooms with like windows and you're like quarantined in there. Like that's kind of what it felt like. And I was like, wow, I've been living with this mercury in my body for 10, 15 years. And this is the protocol to get it out. So, what the heck havoc has it been wreaking on my body? Oxidative stress. I definitely have put a lot of stressors on my body over the years. Not eating well in my college years, not using clean products in my college years and right after college, not being physically active in the way that I was growing up and in high school, in college, and my first year teaching, being so incredibly stressed for so long, for years, being so incredibly stressed for a multitude of different reasons. So yeah, I definitely think that stress and kind of living my life on the go and probably constantly in fight or flight or freeze played a huge role. And then lastly, the potential hypothyroidism. So I have not been diagnosed officially with hypothyroidism. I saw an endocrinologist and she wanted to run more blood labs to start to find a pattern. I wanted to wait for a few reasons that I'll get into throughout this conversation. but one of which being I had just had blood markers run 3 weeks ago. I'm like, what the heck has changed in 3 weeks? Like, I don't want to do this right now. We also were not very aligned. She had no respect for the fact that I was a certified nutrition specialist, had a master's degree in nutrition, and she flat out told me that my thyroid markers, so my TPO, and I'll share my TSH and my free T3 that were also a bit off, could not be changed through diet or lifestyle. So we clearly did not align. My OB, Dr. Pero, did say that those markers could be positively impacted, maybe not like perfectly reversed, but like positively impacted through diet and lifestyle. So yeah, we weren't aligned. So I had her do a physical examination of the thyroid. When you have high TPO, potentially indicating that you could have Hashimoto's thyroiditis. That is protocol. And I wanted to have that done because I wanted to make sure that my thyroid was still healthy physically, that I had no thyroid nodules, and that my antibodies weren't high because of something worse. Thankfully, she did not seem to think that there were any nodules. She felt like physically the thyroid was fine. So, after working with her to get that cleared, not working together anymore. So, I did not receive official diagnosis. I will be finding a new endocrinologist to continue to monitor and maybe receive a diagnosis. But in this stage of where I'm at, not quite there yet. So those are the three potential root causes of my total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol being raised. My TSH was in the standard conventional range, but it was above optimal. And from the research that I've done, from what I've learned in grad school and my private practice, it is above the range that would be necessary to have a healthy pregnancy. So that is not great. The symptoms that I was experiencing that could have indicated that my TSH would be high and that I could be leaning hypothyroid were difficulty losing weight. One that I think is very interesting was reduced initiative. And as a business owner, this is tricky. I had a lot of feelings of what's the point? Why am I even doing this? And just really challenging to be motivated. As a business owner, I have to be motivated by myself. And it was just really challenging. Having cold hands and feet, mostly cold feet, experiencing on and off constipation. I've been experiencing chronic constipation for as long as I can remember. In the last 6 years, maybe not six, in the last 4 years, it has definitely improved. Once I learned that what my doctors told me of, oh, this is just your normal to only go to the bathroom 3, 4, 5 times a week. Yeah, you're not constipated. That's your normal. Not true. Once I learned in 2020 that that was not the case, that we should be having 1 to 3 good solid bowel movements a day, I was like, wow, I've been chronically constipated my entire life. So clearly, I've had some type of gut imbalance for as long as I can remember. And post having COVID in 2020 and again in 2021, I started experiencing hair loss. I thought that it was just post COVID hair loss. And I'm not 100% sure if COVID, the virus, weakened my immune system and kind of set a cascade for these antibodies, for this thyroid, for the hair loss. If that was a cause, if they were in tandem, if I was already headed down this path and it exacerbated it, I'm not sure. But like having COVID twice in 2020 and 2021 definitely is part of this story because my symptoms got so much worse after I had COVID 20, especially my mental health symptoms. So those were the indicators that I potentially had autism. And the only other thyroid marker that was a bit off was my free T3. However, again, this was in standard range. So a conventional doctor may have run these labs, seen them, and said, oh, you're healthy, fine. But I know my OBG knew that it was below optimal, which also could indicate hypothyroidism. Again, have not gotten a diagnosis, but that is what these markers were showing. Potential supports for that I will get into, but definitely making sure that my micro, my macro minerals were in check is a huge part. Minerals play a huge role in thyroid health. Next marker on my lab that was off were my eosinophils. They were in standard range, but they were higher than optimal. I flagged it, Dr. Para flagged it. Potential reasons for high eosinophils are parasites, food allergy, or sensitivity. As some of you knew, I don't know what made me decide now is the time, but right after I got the blood labs run, before I had seen the results, I had done a parasite cleanse over the full moon, over my birthday, and some worms came out. You might have seen my post on Instagram about that. And so after seeing that and telling Dr. Pero, telling Peg Herzog, we were like, okay, there's definitely a parasitic infection going on. And so that is definitely a piece of my puzzle. The other piece, I believe, is a food sensitivity to gluten, potentially dairy and corn, but I definitely think gluten is a heavy hitter for me. After getting these markers back and suspecting that I had a hypothyroidism, potentially Hashimoto's, I started doing my research, looking through PubMed studies, looking for podcasts. And of course, you all know I have been an Organic Olivia stan since 2020. And so I listened to her most recent episode about Hashimoto's. And the guest that she had on was talking about how people who don't have quote unquote normal food sensitivity side effects, the quote unquote normal food sensitivity side effects being gastrointestinal upset, nausea, diarrhea, bloating, me having none of those, can have mental and emotional symptoms. And so remember when I was talking about that reduced initiative, I think that was being so worsened by having gluten. She was talking about how you can have reduced initiative, like potentially depression, just feeling so unmotivated. And I had been feeling that way since I had added gluten back into my diet and my routine. So I think the parasites and the gluten for sure have been playing a big role in my symptomology and my health. The parasites, thank you to everyone when I posted on my story what you wanted me to talk about in this episode. So many people wanted to talk about parasites. So let's talk about them. I had been doing cell course, para 1, para 2, para 3, and biotoxin binder. I found that the biotoxin binder was not really working with me. So when I was working with Peg Herzog, telling her about this, we decided that Gastrozyme was going to be the best for me, if you will, as well as betaine hydrochloride or betaine HCl. I needed that to help break down the parasites and pass them. So I did that over the full moon. And once I was telling Peg Herzog that I was actively passing worms, she said, do not stop the parasite protocol. If you are passing them, you are visibly seeing them. You need to keep eradicating them. You don't want them to learn the mechanisms of which you are using to eradicate them and then be able to hide from them, mutate, not be able to work. So I have been parasite cleansing since then, continuing with those cell core products, as well as doing ozone rectally and coffee enemas. And that has been so incredibly nuts. So incredibly nuts what has come out of my body. I have had worms. I have had flukes. I have had eggs. I have had creepy crawlers that I don't even know what they are, that I don't care to identify at this moment, come out of my body. And because of that, we are going to have Maria Chrysler on the show in a few weeks to talk about parasites and the research that she has done. And this episode is for sure going to be controversial. It's for sure going to be scary to some people. And it scares me a little bit to release it, but she is an expert in this. She has dedicated her life to studying parasites, and I think that the information that she has to share is valuable. Does it mean that you need to listen to everything that she says and do everything that she says? No. Does it mean that I have done everything that she recommends? No. But I do think it's valuable information, and I'm going to share it, and hopefully people don't think that I don't know what the word is, but don't think negatively after it. I'll say that. But I want to share it because it has been insane the amount of parasites that have come out of my body. And I am going to use the two resources that I have been learning about parasites to share some information with you all. One is from Earthly Wellness, and one is from Taylor Duke's Wellness. And so you all said that you wanted to be a bit more educated on parasites. And so I am going to give you the information that you will not get in my podcast interview with Maria, and that I have learned about parasites. The first thing is that parasites that infect us fall into three broad categories. They are ectoparasites, helminths, and protozoa. Parasite is an organism that lives on or in a host and gets something from them. So ectoparasites are going to be things like bed bugs or fleas or ticks or mosquitoes. Protozoan parasites are microscopic. So that is one of the reasons why when you are parasite cleansing, 70+% of them are not seen with the naked eye. They're microscopic. All of the protozoan parasites have like crazy long names, so I'm not going to really get into that. And then there's the helminths, which are the parasitic worms that I have seen, which is disgusting. So some common parasites in the human body, you might have heard me say already, are roundworms, hookworms, flukes, tapeworms, nematodes. And a lot of questions that I get from pretty much every person that I have been honest with about my parasite cleansing is, where did you get parasites? And I don't share this information to scare you, but anyone can get them anywhere. If you have adequate stomach acid, an adequate digestive system, and a calm nervous system, your body is better equipped to eradicate them naturally. Other people who have been inundated with stressors, both physically and mentally, emotionally, have leaking gut, have leaky gut, have not enough stomach acid, have stunted immune systems, whatever, have a lot more trouble getting rid of these bugs once they come in contact with them. But some ways that people could come in contact with parasites: undercooked meat, undercooked seafood, raw fruits and vegetables, drinking water or swimming water that is contaminated, soil that has been soiled by animals, pets, blood transfusions, surfaces like toys, bedding, door handles, toilets, other people, if somebody didn't wash their hands and use the restroom and then you touch the same things as them, as well as international travel, which I think is like what most people think you get them from. There's a lot of different ways I could have gotten them, from sushi to my dog to living, drinking water, swimming in lakes, rivers. Who knows, right? Parasites can live in all different places of the body: your brain, your eyes, your lymph nodes, your lungs, liver, intestines, muscles, blood, joints, and even your skin. Some symptoms that you might have a parasite or parasites. So, chronic digestive issues, like I said, chronic inflammation, fatigue or feeling weakness, grinding your teeth, having iron deficiency anemia come up on labs, having skin problems, acne, eczema, anything like that, abdominal pain, changes in your appetite, anxiety, depression, headaches, chronic pain or memory issues, allergies, arthritis, autoimmune disease, including Hashimoto's thyroiditis. So that is one of the reasons why I've really dug into the parasite cleansing, because I do believe that it is a root cause of these high antibodies, the high TPO, high MPO, and potentially Hashimoto's thyroiditis. That has not been confirmed whether I have it, but it is possible. Bedwetting as kids, bladder inflammation. So part of my health history, my story was that from my junior year of college up until probably 2020, 2021, I had a lot of UTIs. I could not get rid of them no matter how healthy I was until I started taking D-mannose. I'm very happy to say I have not had a UTI in like 3 or 4 years. So that's exciting, but that was a part of my story. Dark circles under your eyes, diarrhea, eye inflammation, fever, flu-like symptoms, food sensitivities could be why potentially I'm having a gluten sensitivity, a dairy sensitivity, a corn sensitivity. Gallbladder and bile duct disease, gas, insomnia, itching around your anus, leaky gut, low blood sugar, muscle and joint pain, night sweats, nutritional deficiencies, seizures, skin rashes, vomiting, a weakened immune system, and weight loss. I am going to just check through the notes that I had from the other source to make sure I did not miss anything. Oh, other ways that you can get parasites is through insect bites, which is one that really surprised me. Liver abscesses can be symptoms of parasite. Greasy stools that float, swollen lymph nodes, eye pain, blurred vision, rectal prolapse, vitamin B12 deficiency, itchy skin. So it doesn't just have to be around the anus. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good picture of how you can get them and symptoms. So as you can see, there are so many different symptoms. And so I wanted to know, since I had seen parasites, I wanted to know, could this be a root cause of a lot of the symptomology that I am having? So that is kind of where I am in my journey right now. Is I'm really focused on detoxification, supporting my detox pathways, my lymph, my liver, my renal tract, as well as reducing inflammation from foods that I might be sensitive to. So that's where I am in this journey. Other markers on my lab. So my insulin was high for fasting, but it was in the standard range. So I know that my body is experiencing some type of insulin resistance. And that I have found out could be from, or could have began or been, could have began from when I had COVID twice. Viral infections can kind of start to instigate insulin resistance. It could be from the fact that I was vegan for years and probably did not have balanced blood sugar, that I have not been eating enough protein up until the last year or so. There's just so many different reasons: stress, trauma, gastrointestinal issues, leaky gut. There's just so many potential root causes for that. My AMH was also high, which PCOS is a root cause for. And because of that, at this point in time, it would be really challenging for me to get pregnant. So that is a big one that I am looking forward to getting down. And then last, my cortisol was high for waking, which is honestly not a surprise. I have been living a go, 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 doing 21 million things, experiencing trauma and stress and grief and sadness and running around and working towards goals and working myself to the bone for such a long time. for like years. I mean, if you knew me in college, you knew that I never slept. I pulled all-nighters all the time. I worked 2 jobs. I had a position in my sorority. I was in a sorority. I worked at a bar, so I went out a lot. And I maintained a really wonderful GPA, and I had a dual degree. So, yeah, I've been living this insane lifestyle that has been probably damaging my adrenals since definitely since college. I think high school, I was able to have a little bit more balance, but I was still doing a lot in high school. But I think since college, so I've had to really change my lifestyle and change my view of success. I can no longer think of success as doing the most and getting the most done and doing a million things, because it's not successful anymore. It's hurting me. And I have to think of success now as doing meaningful work, taking time for my health, and taking time to be with my family and my friends and fostering good relationships. It can't be doing a million things. So I've had to cut back. I've had to say no, and it's been challenging, but it's been good. Like I said, I've also been trying to eliminate foods that have been causing inflammation. So I started doing the Walls Protocol. The Walls Protocol is eliminating gluten, dairy, and corn. It is eating grains, legumes, and potatoes 2 times per week, eating nuts, seeds, apples, bananas, oils, eggs, and non-grain based alcohol in moderation. That it's eating lots of fruits and vegetables, about 9 servings a day. I'm not perfect with that one. Eating lots of lean meats and seafood and fish, adding in seaweed, algae, and organ meat, and doing additional therapies like oil pulling, energy healing, saunas, taking naps, and utilizing Epsom salts for baths or foot baths. So that is what I'm doing. And then people really wanted to know what were some ways to help with PCOS. So, first and foremost, it's going to be lowering that cortisol, finding ways to reduce stress, relax, stop the fight or flight lifestyle. Next is helping with insulin resistance. So, eating balanced meals, eating 30 grams of protein with meals, eating protein rich snacks, lowering androgens. Potentially, that's through lowering cortisol and reducing the insulin resistance, increasing insulin sensitivity. Potentially, that could be through drinking 2 cups of spearmint tea per day, adding in adaptogen. Other ideas that are great are Why Not Naturals 5-in-1. It has berberine, cinnamon, garlic, turmeric, black pepper. This is really good for blood sugar and lowering inflammation. Inositol is another really good one. I like Theralogic's Ovasitol. Shout out to Rachel, who was on the podcast, who gave me that recommendation. NAC is really great for supporting the liver. CoQ10 is really great for supporting the ovaries and mitochondrial health. Magnesium and zinc are quite amazing. They're minerals that are so necessary for us. Magnesium, you want to consume up to 350 milligrams per day. Zinc, you do not want to go over 40 milligrams per day unless you've been told by a doctor that you have an extreme deficiency, and that includes through supplementation and through food. Green tea is really wonderful for supporting PCOS as well as preventing breast cancer. Omega-3 fatty acids are wonderful. Having a good quality prenatal is important. Adding more fiber into your diet and consuming adequate vitamin D. My vitamin D levels were in a good range, but they were not in the optimal range. And I supplement with vitamin D every day through an extra supplement and through my prenatal. So I know that my body just needs a little bit more, as well as I need to be diligent about getting outside, getting morning sun, setting my circadian rhythm, getting 10 to 15 minutes of sunlight on the skin without Sunscreen, caveat there, is because I have acne scars. I literally don't go out in the sun without sunscreen on my face, but I'll let it absorb into the other areas of my body, really intentionally getting the vitamin D up in the morning, which is also really great, like I said, for the circadian rhythm, helping your body know it is morning time. It's time to release the correct amount of hormones. Very important. Another question that I had from y'all was what to do for hypothyroid. So, one of the reasons why I'm doing the Walls protocol and that diet was because of the autoimmune markers that showed up on my blood labs. So, that is contributing to the hypothyroid picture. I mentioned remediating the parasites as well as eliminating what I think is a sensitivity for me. It is insane how clearer and how much more motivated and how much happier I am without gluten, dairy, corn. Do I know if it's I need all three to be gone right now? Do I know if it's just the gluten? No, I'm not 100% sure, but it's crazy. My mental health is so much better. I think I said this already, but the micronutrients that are important for the thyroid include iodine and selenium, plus essential fatty acids, so those omega 3s. Iodine is something that you want to be so careful about supplementing with. So I'm currently not even taking an iodine supplement. What I am doing is I am eating more seaweed, kelp, seafood, eggs, cod, cranberries, shrimp, and prunes to do it naturally through food because it's a tricky marker. You want to be under advisement of a healthcare practitioner if that is something that you need. Selenium is another one that you want to get adequate amounts, but you don't want to overdo it. So I also try to do this through food. Brazil nuts, one a day max for me. Salmon, tuna, turkey, chicken, mushrooms, halibut, eggs, sardines, sunflower seeds, beef, and beef liver are great sources. Sources of omega 3 fatty acids, if you didn't want to take a supplement, are your fish, seafood, chia seeds, flax seeds, walnuts. Other things that I'm doing to support the thyroid are making sure that I am cooking any cruciferous vegetables to reduce goitrogens. Goitrogens are found in cruciferous vegetables. There is some research that they can impact the thyroid. However, they're so important for detox and liver. So I want to still consume them. I just need to make sure that I'm cooking out most of the goitrogens. So I am not putting any type of cruciferous vegetable, leafy greens into my protein smoothies. So I'm not putting cauliflower rice. I'm not putting kale. I'm not putting spinach, no broccoli, keeping it to carrots and zucchini. No gluten and dairy has also been shown to help hyperthyroidism slash Hashimoto's, supporting your HPA axis, so nervous system regulation. You heard me talk about this on the show with Dr. Chris. He's been such a huge help for me to get back into my body. Teaching and taking slow yoga classes and mindful movement classes have been so helpful for me to slow down, to get back into my body, to focus on moving slow, tuning in, focusing on the breath, meditation, saying no to things that I just can't do, I don't have the capacity to do, lessening my workload. And like I said, slowly changing my definition of success. Blood sugar support for the PCOS is also really helpful for thyroid. So, like I said, eating adequate protein, fiber, and fat, adding in that inositol supplement, limiting added sugars, no high fructose corn syrup, no cane sugar, or very minimal, just really reducing my added sugar intake, having digestive support through this parasite protocol, liver support through coffee enemas, through the castor oil packs. I don't think I talked about castor oil packs, but I have been doing them a few times a week. I've been trying to habit stack my red light, my castor oil packs, and my sauna. So what I'll do is I'll get in my sauna blanket, I'll have the castor oil and my flannel sheet over top of my liver as well as my womb space. I will turn that up. I'll let that heat up the castor oil, and then I'll put the red light at the top of my head. That's kind of my little habit stack for liver support, detox support. mitochondrial support, focusing on low intensity workouts. So I talked about my slow yoga, walking outside every morning with the dog, as well as strength training. I'm so grateful to Luke. He has so much knowledge in strength training, and we have a gym in our garage. So he's been such a good trainer and coach to me. I've been doing bala bangles on my walks. I've been doing lower intensity weights. Rebounding has been really great. My 2, 3 pound, 5 pound weights and jumping on there. I've been doing dry brushing to help support my lymph and detox pathways, and just sweating in general is so great. So whether that's through a workout or through sauna, I've been doing acupuncture for all the things for de-stress, reducing inflammation, supporting hormones, relaxation. Acupuncture is such a wonderful tool. And I've been getting facials because I'm clearing out. I'm with the detox is coming, things clearing out through the skin. And I'm preparing for my wedding, and I want to feel beautiful, and I don't want to feel like a lab rat, and that I'm detoxing parasites and sticking things out my butt and eliminating foods. And it can feel so much. And so doing things that make me feel feminine and that have more immediate results have been really wonderful. So yeah, this is what I've been up to. This is what is going on. Thank you to everybody who submitted their questions about the thyroid, PCOS, the parasites. I'm excited for my parasite episode with Maria to come out. Please keep an open mind with that. And please know that you don't need to implement a million changes. You don't have to do everything she said. You don't have to live in fear. We have tools, we have resources to start to eradicate these parasites, prevent them. And yeah, I hope nothing that I said is causing you fear. Thank you for being on this journey with me. Thank you to everybody who has reached out from my last podcast episode to the posts that I've been doing on Instagram. It means so much, and I'm excited to continue to walk with you through this journey of healing. And I can't wait to see where we're at a few months from now, a year from now. I think we're on the right path, and I'm excited.